In the heart of the vibrant 90s hip-hop scene, the air was electric with competition and camaraderie. Bad Boy Records, under the watchful eye of Sean Diddy Combs, was a powerhouse. Among its roster was Craig Mack, whose breakout hit Flava in Ya Ear had the world buzzing. But behind the scenes, tension simmered, and not everything was as it seemed. One evening, as the neon lights flickered over Manhattan, Diddy's bodyguard, Tony, sat down for an interview that would shed light on the tumultuous relationship between Diddy and Craig Mack. The atmosphere was thick with nostalgia and unspoken stories. "People think it was all glitz and glamour," Tony began, leaning back in his chair. "But it was cutthroat. Diddy wanted to be the best, and he had a vision. Craig was a big part of that, but their relationship? It was complicated." Tony recalled the early days, when Craig was a rising star. Diddy had high hopes for him, wanting to ride the momentum of Flava in Ya Ear to take Bad Boy to new heights. But then came the changes, Tony said, his brow furrowing. Craig's style was raw and authentic, but Diddy was all about the polished image. He wanted to control every aspect of the brand. As time went on, Craig's growing frustrations became apparent. He wanted to express his artistry freely, but Diddy's vision often clashed with his own. Diddy would push for radio hits, while Craig was more about the streets, Tony explained. That led to some heated arguments. One night, after a particularly intense studio session, the tension boiled over. Diddy had just secured a deal for a huge music video, and he expected Craig to be all in. But Craig showed up late, saying he needed more time to get his lyrics right. Diddy lost it, Tony recalled. He felt disrespected, like Craig wasn't taking the opportunity seriously. The fallout was swift. Diddy began distancing himself from Craig, focusing instead on artists who embraced the polished, radio-friendly sound he craved. It wasn't just about music, it was about control, Tony said. Diddy wanted to be the king, and he couldn't afford to have anyone threatening that throne. Yet, beneath the surface of rivalry, there was a lingering sense of respect. Deep down, Diddy admired Craig's talent. But it was overshadowed by his own ambitions, Tony noted. In the end, it was a classic case of artistic differences, but the industry made it personal. As the years passed, both men would go their separate ways, but the tension between them remained a defining chapter in hip-hop history. In a way, they were mirrors of each other, one chasing fame, the other chasing authenticity, Tony concluded, a hint of sadness in his voice. The interview ended, leaving a lingering question: could their relationship have been different? In a world where ambition often overshadows connection, Tony's insights painted a complex portrait of two artists navigating the turbulent waters of fame, with a lesson for future generations about collaboration, respect, and the price of success. As Tony finished his reflection, he took a sip of his coffee, the steam curling up like forgotten dreams. The vibrant buzz of New York outside the cafe seemed a world away from the memories he carried. "Let me take you back to that infamous night," Tony said, leaning in closer. It was the release party for Craig's debut album. Diddy had planned everything meticulously, glitz, glam, and all the right faces in the crowd. But the atmosphere was thick with tension. Tony recalled how, from the moment they arrived, Diddy had been all smiles and charm, shaking hands and posing for pictures. Craig, however, stood slightly apart, his expression a mix of pride and apprehension. You could feel the crowd's excitement, but Craig wasn't fully in it. He was worried about how his music would be received. He wanted people to see him, not just the image Diddy was projecting. As the night progressed, Diddy took the stage to introduce Craig. The crowd erupted, but Craig's face was a study in conflict. He didn't want to be just a puppet on Diddy's strings. When Diddy called Craig to join him, Tony could see the moment it clicked for Craig. He stepped forward, confidence surging through him. He took the mic and just unleashed, Tony said, a glimmer of admiration in his eyes. He didn't stick to the script. He wanted to connect with the crowd, to show them who he really was. It was electric. But Diddy's smile faded. Tony recalled the way Diddy's jaw clenched, the tension in his shoulders as he watched Craig command the room. That's when the cracks began to show, Tony continued. Diddy had a vision for Bad Boy, but Craig was doing his own thing. It was like two worlds colliding. After the performance, the mood shifted. Diddy pulled Craig aside, and Tony could see the conversation escalating. I remember Diddy's voice rising, "This isn't just about you, it's about the label." Craig's response was defiant, and for a moment, the two men seemed to forget the crowd, lost in their heated exchange. The fallout was immediate. The next day, it was like nothing had happened, Tony said, shaking his head. But the air was heavy with unspoken words. Diddy began focusing on new talent, and Craig felt that cold shoulder. Months passed, and Craig's frustration grew. He released new tracks, pouring his heart into his music, but the support from Diddy waned. Diddy was busy cultivating a new sound, a new roster, Tony said. He was trying to build an empire, and Craig was starting to feel like an afterthought. One day, during a studio session, Craig finally reached his breaking point. He showed up with a new song, raw, powerful. It was everything Diddy had initially loved about him. But when Craig played it, Diddy's expression was distant, almost dismissive. He didn't hear the hunger in Craig's voice. That was the moment everything changed, Tony said. Craig walked out, and we didn't see him for a while. Diddy moved on, but there was a lingering regret. Years later, when Craig passed away, the industry mourned a legend lost too soon. Diddy released a heartfelt tribute, but it was bittersweet. I remember the way Diddy spoke about Craig at the memorial, Tony recalled. He acknowledged the talent, the impact. But I could see the pain of missed opportunities in his eyes. As the interview wrapped up, Tony reflected on the complex tapestry of relationships in the music industry. It's a reminder that even the brightest stars can clash. Sometimes, it's about more than just music, it's about finding your place in a world that can be unforgiving. He paused, looking out the window at the bustling streets of New York. In the end, Diddy and Craig were both chasing something: success, authenticity, connection. Their story is a testament to the struggles artists face in the pursuit of their dreams, and how easily misunderstandings can lead to heartbreak. The cafe buzzed around them, but for Tony, it felt like a moment suspended in time, a reminder of two artists whose paths had intertwined, leaving echoes in the world of hip-hop.